welcome to the Cheese Room. You are very welcome. We are here on our Wednesday night for our show all about transfers and everything Tottenham and a little bit of England and South Korea mixed in. I'm your host, Becky, for today, and be gentle, it's my first show. I'm very excited. But I've got three wonderful guests to help me today on my show. So first of all, James, I bet you are still buzzing from Sunday and that wonderful victory for Wales. Welcome along.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I'm pretty tired because I literally had to sprint into my house because the train was delayed, so that's fun. But yeah, game on Sunday. Brilliant result. I think I probably cheered louder when the game was over than the goal, but great to be back as ever. So give me a good show.
Yeah, Brill. I was the same. Those who know me, I've got Welsh family, and always supporting Wales. Helps when we've got Bale and Rodon and Daddy Davis as well, though, of course. But yeah, fantastic, really good. And old friend of the show, we've got Holly from Holly Hotspurs. Welcome along, Holly.
No, cheers. Thanks for having me. Like I say, it's normally my bedtime at this time, but I had a little nap beforehand, so I was ready to talk all things transfers and all the kind of things you said already. But no, thank you for having me on, Becky.
And you've been researching up, haven't you? We've been chatting this afternoon, haven't you? We've been Googling, both of us, because those of you that know, I know nothing about transfers. So I thought, well, I'll just ask the questions. But yeah, we've been doing a bit of Googling ourselves this afternoon. And finally, making his Cheese Room debut, he's desperate to get away from Love Island and come on the show. It's one of our patrons. It's Matt. Hello, Matt. Welcome along.
Hi, Becky. Thanks for having me on. Pleasure to come on and talk about Spurs, and obviously even more of a pleasure to get away from the television downstairs and avoid Love Island. So, yeah, looking forward to talking all things Tottenham and transfers and international players and stuff.
Brilliant.
Happy days.
Good stuff. Yeah, absolutely. So, a few housekeeping bits. Welcome along to everybody and everyone that's in the chat. Just if you can, click the like button. That always helps us along. Sign yourself in, and then if you can, subscribe as well. And we have also got a Spurs competition on the go as well. So if you see our Twitter page, Cheese Room Spurs, you'll see that there is a competition on there to win a brand new Spurs home kit. So get yourself onto that. Okay, so looking at my run sheet that the wonderful John has done for me. The big news of today was our second signing of the summer. And we have not a huge shock, but 34-year-old Fraser Forster has signed on a free transfer from Southampton on a 2-year deal. He made 134 Premier League appearances for Southampton and 42 clean sheets, which I must admit, when Spurs tweeted that earlier today, I didn't realise he'd got quite so many. So that was really great to read. So, panel, what do we think? James, what are your views on that signing so far?
Yeah, I think he's a much better backup than Galini. He's homegrown. He's played a lot of European matches. He played some for Southampton back when they were a lot better. Played for Celtic for a while. Played some European games for them. He's got experience. Kind of like a better version of what we were trying to do with Hart, right? Yeah, I think it's just an all-round pretty decent bit of business. I mean, he's coming in on a free. He's probably just happy to be here, you know. And if he can play a couple of games and give Lloris a bit of, respite in some of the cup games, brilliant.
Yeah, I agree with that, Holly.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, Southampton for me is pretty much down the road. And going from St Mary's to the New Lane, like James has said, I think he's very happy to be here because St Mary's isn't all that. But in terms of the signing itself, like James has already said, I think it's decent in terms of financially, where he's a free again, and the fact that also that the experience he brings to that side again in the dressing room is something that I think we're all kind of alluding to, that we need experience. And obviously with Perisic coming in the week before, I think it kind of shows what we want to do with the club. And on the part of Galini, I had Matt on the show the other week and he was talking about how we don't actually see what a big team player Galini was in the dressing room. So to get rid of Galini and bring in someone that's got experience, like James said, in European nights, I know it was a long time ago, but it just shows that we're trying to group everyone together. So I'm pleased about it. I think it's decent.
Yeah, Matt, your thoughts?
Yeah, decent signing. He's he's better than Galini, isn't he? I thought Galini was awful. I thought half the time you'd shoot, if you shot, it went in. I just don't think he was very good. And Forster's Premiership proven, he's been around, played in European football. I think he was called up to the England squad not so long back, probably as cover because one of the keepers was injured. But so it shows he's still a decent keeper. And I think he had a really good season last year. So Southampton, a lot of Southampton fans apparently didn't want to get rid of him, so no brainer really. Brings in experience, good backup, and if he does come in and in one of the cup competitions, he's pretty much sort of he's not gonna. You'd like to think he's not going to make any massive mistakes, and he's got a decent head on his shoulders. He's been around, so no brainer. Decent signing on a free.
Yeah, and I agree with all that. I think also he's homegrown, isn't he? Like you said, he's in the England team, and that's gonna help. The experience definitely. He also helped us get in the Champions League, didn't he? Because of the wondrous match he had when he played Arsenal near the end of the season. So already, a lot of people are loving him for that. I've seen so many videos of Forster's saves today, and Spurs showed the Doherty one, but there's a lot of Arsenal fans cross about that. So yeah, I think anything that winds the Gooners up again is even better. But yeah, I agree. He's a big guy. My Jack, playing in goal himself, he knows who he is. And when I showed him the pictures when we got back from school today, I didn't realise quite how big he is. He's quite a unit, isn't he? And he's going to be quite substantial, I think. So yeah, hopefully all of that and the experience. We know that Conte likes experience, doesn't he?
And I don't think anybody, well, not many people are sort of knocking that signing, are they? You're not got a load of people going, what are we signing him for? Everybody's sort of pretty behind it, so makes it a pretty sensible signing. So. Yeah.
Kerry made a good point in the chat saying that it's a shame with the Bastoni news that's kind of filtering out this afternoon. But certainly when it was shown, like mid-morning, wasn't it? Everyone was genuinely quite pleased. I know it wasn't a surprise, but yeah, it's a good thing, and hopefully it is the start as we mean to go on. So right, let's move on to Bastoni, which seems to be sort of evolving by the day. But it seems now that, according to Fabrizio Romano, that he is deciding he's going to stay with Inter Milan, and that's what he wants to do. Which it's where he's from. He settled there. I think personally, it's a shame that Conte and the Champions League hasn't been a pull for him. But yeah. So Holly, what do you think about Bastoni news today?
I think it's like you said, it's a bit deflating that it's obviously now stalled and it's stopped. I think there was something into a writing something, and he commented on their Instagram or something with love hearts or something to that kind of effect. And when you read into it, it pretty much tells it's done and dusted. But I'm kind of glad it's happened now and not at the end of the transfer window with the whole Dybala thing again, where it kind of sunk last minute. Whereas now we know, right, you don't want to come here, let's go find someone else. So I think in that kind of sense, it's a good thing as much as it's obviously deflating.
Yeah, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I've been around long enough now. I've seen Tottenham linked with so many good players over the years, and then you think they're coming in, and then it just nothing happens, and it's like, oh, now don't fancy coming. So it is what it is. I always, when they kept talking about the fact that he wasn't sure if he wanted to come, that's like a red flag for me, because if they don't, if you don't want to come and play for your club, no matter how much money you offer them, if you could offer them a king's ransom, and then they'll turn up. And if their art's not really in it, maybe a bit like Ndombele was a bit like that. Maybe he just turned up for the money, and then you don't get what you think you're getting. And yeah, a bit of a red flag if he's not that keen. And so it's best we move on, as long as we're not in a situation where we're like waiting, we don't do anything. Like a few years ago, I think we got rid of Berbatov, couldn't get another forward in, and we ended up with Fraser Campbell at like midnight. Didn't have anyone. As long as we're not, I don't think got those days anymore. So as long as we sort of go down the list and hopefully get one of the next one or two players that are on that list, as long as we can get that player and bring him in, it should be all right. It is what it is. If he doesn't want to come, nothing Levy or Paratici can do about that. We got to move on quick. Hopefully get our next target. It's a shame, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I agree with that. AJ makes a good point there about Pau Torres, because yesterday, when it wasn't confirmed that Bastoni was going to stay at Inter Milan, people were saying, are we going to buy both? And are we going to sort of play either Pau Torres on the left or possibly on the right and then Bastoni in the middle? So the Pau Torres thing possibly is still something that's going ahead. James, what do you feel about Pau Torres if it's that what ends up being?
I'm not his biggest fan, actually, to be honest with you. I don't think he's been brilliant in Europe. I don't know. I think there are better options out there for considerably less, just because they're not sexy names. Like Facundo Medina has been brilliant in France this season. Some of his underlying stats are actually better than Bastoni's. You look at his progressive passes, interceptions and tackles in like the middle third of the pitch, right? Are better. The only thing he's like worse at underlying wise is he gets dribbled past more, but most of his other stats are better. He's left-sided. He can play as a left back. Admittedly, in France, they could argue a bit of a weaker league, but right? Like he's young, he'd develop. If we can't get Bastoni, there are plenty of other options out there. Pau Torres would be like certainly an improvement over Davinson Sanchez, right? And I mean, if we're going to sell, Sanchez, maybe Rodon, loan for Tanganga, like we're going to need a couple of centre backs anyway. And Pau Torres would be an improvement, even if I'm not convinced he's like Bastoni level or a world beater.
No, I know. When I saw him in I think it was the Europa League matches of Villarreal, or was it Champions League matches, I noticed him, but it wasn't completely kind of blown away with the way he was. Some of the rumours that are out today saying that was going to be some sort of deal involving GLC, isn't there, and the Celso, and sort of what we do with him and that sort of thing. And we don't want to be stuck in a situation, do we, where because it's a good deal and therefore we get rid of Celso, that we then take Pau Torres. I think James is right. We need to take the players we want for the right reasons. One person I saw put on Twitter earlier today is saying that it looks like we're doing position by position, which if Paratici has got loads of different, options and like he's got all these plates spinning, then if we are doing position by position, that's quite hopeful. That we aren't going to be left with a situation like you said towards the end of August where it's sort of like, we'll just have them and they have them, or we'll end up being with people who are sort of left over. So I quite like the idea that possibly we are doing position by position. And like you said, I agree. If he's not going to come, he doesn't want to come, move on. A few people move on. We don't want him. That's fine. There will be other people that will want to come. Matt?
I mean, Ben Davies has had like a fantastic season, really, hasn't he? I'm not 100% sure on Pau Torres. I've not seen loads of him. He just, I don't know. I'm not sure if he straight away acclimatised to the Premier League. He just seems. I don't want to say he's like too weak because obviously I don't want to say that, but I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure about him. Yeah, and it sounds weird to say, is he better than Ben Davies? But Ben Davies has been really good. So, but then I suppose you want, if he can come in and you can have that competition, that's what you want. Because obviously, competition raises performance levels, doesn't it? So we want sort of players who are as good as the player in that position already or better. So we can say for instance, he does come in and he is better than Ben Davies. Hopefully, Ben Davies can raise his performance level again, and you've got some healthy competition. It's all about making the squad better, isn't it? Not just the team. We need that squad to be better. We need to be resting players and sort of like,
and we've said, there's going to be far more fixtures, aren't there, this year, that hopefully we go deep in a lot of the cups. We've got the Champions League, we've got the qualifying for the Champions League. We've said before, a lot of these players are international players, so they'll be playing international fixtures. One name that keeps popping up, and I've noticed that's come up in the chat again as well, is Gleison Bremer for Torino. Now, I must admit, when me and Holly were chatting this afternoon, we were like, we'll have to Google him. We don't know who he is. But apparently he's Brazilian. Also can be a centre-back. That's somebody that I know HG has mentioned before. So that could be an option. So I think there are plenty of people out there, and like we keep saying, the advantage of getting it, Bastoni has said, fine, we move on, and we've got plenty of time, hopefully, to do that. So that's, keep an eye out on that. So that's good. Okay, right, let's move on. What else are we going to talk about? So caller would have been delighted yesterday because Harry Winks was trending on Twitter with links now. You've taken his hat off him. With Everton, Holly, what do you think about that? Do you think he's suited for Everton?
Who knows, to be honest. Obviously, he's done and dusted at Tottenham, sadly. I think his last time was probably that Real Madrid game. I think that was partially because I was there. But regardless, I think his time has possibly come to an end in a Spurs shirt. For Everton, I don't know. Maybe I was quite like him to go to Southampton because I think he'd do well with Kyle Walker-Peters already being there. But if Everton come in from him, I don't think anybody would say no in that kind of respects. But personally, just for his development, and the way he'd slot in nicely, I think Southampton would be best for him to link up with his mate again, because Kyle Walker-Peters has had a great season at Southampton.
What do we make about the rumours of James Ward-Prowse being 75 million? I know when I mentioned that to my Jack, even he said that's a lot of money for a person who takes free kicks. James, what do you think about that?
Well, James Ward-Prowse is Harry Winks with free kicks. I maintain that position. Yeah, he's got more interceptions, blah, blah, blah. Southampton play more pressing football, right? Like, you're going to get that if you play way more pressing football. You're going to get more interceptions and tackles, right? I don't know, 75 million. Did you pay 75 million for Harry Winks plus free kicks? No. So that's steep. I'm not his biggest fan, really. I mean, 30 million, sure, but not what we need. So no, please don't sign him for 75. If we sign him for 75 million, I'll be very upset. Winks to Everton, I think. I don't know. Everton are a relegation team now, so that's probably Harry Winks' level, isn't it? Let's be honest. There's points. So I don't know. I mean, Winks used to be pretty decent at progressive passing. He's kind of not done that since Jose came in. So maybe if Lampard can get him to pass the ball forward and not sideways, he could be pretty decent, because he used to play those long diagonal balls. He was pretty good at that. I'm sure he can still do that. I'm sure he hasn't forgotten how to do that. I think it must just be a confidence thing. But I don't know. They took Ali off us, Dele Alli. So, cheers Everton. They're just taking all our dead wood. So they want Davinson Sanchez as well. Like, this is brilliant.
Agree with that, Matt, or any other views on Winks?
Yeah, I think it's just time for Winks to go. I think he's sort of stagnated. He hasn't got any better. He has got. Well, I suppose his performances have got a little bit better than they were under Jose in the end, under Conte. But he just doesn't offer enough for me. He's just somewhat of nothing. I just think he wants out. He wants games. I think just get as much as you can for him and move him on. And as for Ward-Prowse, sort of agree with James. I think he's a tidy player. He is an improvement on obviously his free kicks, his set pieces are fantastic. They're out of this world. And for that's why they're saying like 75 million. But I think overall, if you add him and you add him week in, week out, I don't think he's as good as people make him out to be. He's a good player and he is an upgrade on Winks. But you are paying for the free kicks, which I know they've been some special ones this year, but not 75 million for me. I agree with James. I think 30, 40 million for him is probably about what he should be. That's probably what he should be.
It's England tax, isn't it, as well? England players and it's England tax.
Yeah.
While we're on free kicks, James, are we able to reverse and order the pictures around a bit? Because the one and only Heung-min Son scored a free kick on his 100th appearance for South Korea earlier this week. And I watched a little bit of the first half and then saw the free kick later on and was just delighted because I thought it was superb. And there he is. So he's got his 100 caps, and then to score, I think he scored in the 92nd minute, I think it was. And it was, for those who've not seen it, Google it because it is right in the top corner. It is fantastic. And then there's some lovely images of his niece and nephew, and then his little niece is wearing a Spurs kit, and she's just the cutest thing ever. There she is. Oh, look at that. And those of you that follow me on Twitter, I put that he probably hasn't seen them much because of the pandemic, or if he saw them, he probably saw them when they were tiny. So it was such a lovely thing for them as well too. So we don't need Ward-Prowse, do we, Holly? Because we've got Sonny for free kick.
Exactly, and it was an absolute whiz bomber, wasn't it? It was class. If he can keep doing that and take Harry Kane off for free kicks, it'd be wonderful. But yeah, no, I love Sonny to bits. I think we all love Sonny to bits. And like you said, I think I posted a video as well of like the whole interaction. It was just so cute, like you say, with his little niece with the Spurs shirt on. It just shows that obviously he's just, how can you not love him? How the talent he brings and the pure passion he brings to Tottenham is just out of this world, and good on him for getting obviously his 100 appearance, because man's class.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Matt, agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, why has Sonny never been allowed to take a free kick? I mean, I love Kane, but he couldn't hit a cow's ass with a free kick. He is awful. And the amount of free kicks he's had the chance to take, and like Sonny's been there, because Sonny can strike a ball, right foot, left foot, and he's got a good whip on him. You think, why is he never over a free kick? It's madness. And then he tips up for Korea and bends one in. So hopefully next season they'll let him have a go.
Yeah. Did we see the free kick from Kane last night? Was it midway through the second half? I think he kind of did a sort of 1-2 with somebody, didn't he? And then sort of did the sort of weird turn and sort of flicked it from behind him, and it went either wide or straight in the wall or something. And it was like, no, just stick to what you're good at, Kane. Yeah. And of course, Kane last night became the second highest England goal scorer with his 50th goal last night with a penalty, which annoyed a lot of people, which I absolutely love as well. I must admit, James, I know you're clicking buttons and things, but did you see the penalty? What did you think about the decision for the penalty?
I'm going to be honest, I don't watch England games.
Oh, do you not? Of course.
Unless it's like a tournament, I don't. To be honest with you, I don't even like watching Nations League games. I just don't care very much. It's friendlies, glorified friendlies. It's a friendly with extra steps. That's the way I view it. It's the League Cup of international football. I mean, I'm sure it was a great penalty. Bang it.
Matt, what did you? Well, in the lead up to it, Matt, did you see it? Did you think it was a penalty?
I didn't watch. I'm the same as James. I mean, I didn't watch it. At the moment, I've got no interest in watching England. I want them to win. I want Kane to score loads of goals, but I've just lost a bit of my passion for watching England. It's a bit of a. It was great in the Euros when I was with friends and we were hoping they can win, but some of these friendlies and Nations League games. But I mean, the only thing I'd watch it over is probably Love Island. But so I just watched a bit of Silent Witness and then went to bed last night instead of watching England.
Did you watch it?
I saw the penalty.
Did you think it was a penalty? Did you see it? Did you think not the penalty, the decision leading up to the penalty?
All the kind of when they freeze the angles and stuff, and it did look offside. I'm not going to lie, but Jones says that these are glorified friendlies, but he said it's like the League Cup. I wouldn't mind taking the League Cup. So if England win the Nations League, I'll take it. I
think I'm like you. Like I just want Kane to have a trophy, so it doesn't matter what it is. I need to have him lifting something. Yeah. So yeah, for those of you that have not seen it, it came across from Grealish. I think the game was poor. It's like watching Nuno Spurs when Southgate now. It's just very slow and there's not much attacking threat, and but then he brought Grealish on. Grealish crossed it, and I personally thought Kane was falling over, but whether he was tripped, but it did look like he was offside. But penalty, very similar to the Burnley one. Left hand side, didn't roll across the grass, it kind of went in. Never in doubt. And yeah, so out of his 50 appearances, 15 of them are penalties, which is winding a lot of people up, and long may it continue.
Every goal counts.
Yeah. And it's a quick turnaround, I think. What day are we on now? Wednesday? Is it Saturday?
They play Saturday
again.
Italy,
so
Molineux, isn't it? Is it Molineux?
Yeah, it is Molineux. Yeah. So yeah, it's boring. It was hard work, but pleased for Kane that he's now second outright scorer by himself. So.
Yeah, brilliant for Kane.
Fabulous. Right, let's go back onto transfers. So, talk briefly there about Lo Celso, possibly in a swap for Torres, but I know Villarreal are keen. James, do you know any more about Lo Celso and possible transfers for him?
Yeah,
it's been a bit quiet, I think, hasn't it, recently?
Yeah, I haven't seen that many rumours. My presumption is that he will go to Villarreal. I'm not sure for how much, but I think we'll probably recoup a decent quantity of our fee just because they're really keen on him, right? And, they like him. He's not a bad player. He just doesn't really suit the Premier League. And I don't think he's just Antonio Conte. I think it's probable we'll probably get around 20 million for him, which isn't dreadful, but it wasn't a great piece of business. That entire summer was not a good piece of business. But yeah, I would put money on him going to Villarreal this summer permanently.
Yeah, Matt, do you agree with that it's time for Lo Celso to move on, and if we can make anything from it?
He's never. I think when you look at, they're talking about the Celso swap with Pau Torres, you can sort of see the logic behind that if we're after a left-sided centre half or a new centre half, and we can do that, and it helps both teams, and it's a good idea, isn't it? But I mean, he's just never really done it. He's shown flashes, never really done it, has he? You know, and when he plays for Argentina, he's brilliant, but he just hasn't been able to sort of take that form into us. And I think another problem was for him. Everybody saw him as an Eriksen replacement, and he's just put up nowhere near those numbers that Eriksen did. He'd been nowhere near as good. So hopefully we can move him on, and we can get it to work for us. We're never gonna. I don't think we'll recoup what we paid for him, but I think we're more likely to get nearer for him than we will do for Ndombele, because that's just a car crash.
Yeah, Holly, agree with that?
Yeah, I think these guys already pretty much said it. I think what Matt says about the overshadowing of Eriksen has pretty much crippled his time at Tottenham. We were all kind of hoping he's going to be something, but he isn't. But he's been doing it for Villarreal, and if they're happy for him to go there, I wouldn't mind taking a cut, you know, because I think that's what we've kind of been doing at the moment with the players like Dele Alli. We took a massive cut with Dele Alli, but it got him out of our dressing room, and look how the players have performed since he's gone. So I think if we're going to get anything for Gio and they're keen for it, get it done.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. Okay, speaking of players that possibly have had a bit of a patchy time, Japhet Tanganga reports yesterday that he was possibly having interest from Italy. I know he's got an Italian agent, so I don't know whether that's part of it. Anybody have any sort of thoughts on Tanganga and whether we should, you know, when he's fit, keep him or move him on?
I think he needs a loan. I think he's probably fifth choice at the minute, and he looked like bereft of any confidence before he got injured, didn't he? I mean, he was every game he just looked like a rabbit in the headlights to me every time he played. He was brilliant first game of the season against Man City.
Well, I was going to say,
there's that fantastic in that
one game, wasn't it, Man City, and he had Grealish in his pocket, and then
he was fantastic. He was on the front foot, and he looked like he really wanted it, but he just looks like shot of any confidence lately. And I'm not 100% sure he's good enough to play for us. I think he might be able to play for like a lower Premier League team, but where we sort of want to go, I don't think he's at that level. If he can go out and get a loan and we can get him back in, and he is good enough to sort of even be a squad player, then fair enough. But I'm not convinced by him. I don't think he's a right back, and I don't think he's a good enough first choice right back, and I don't think he's a good enough first choice centre half for us. So, you know, let him go out, see what he can do, and then make a decision then. But I don't think he'll be at Tottenham long term.
What do you think, Holly?
I think he just needs to decide where he wants to play, whether he's going to play right back or centre back. I think that's kind of toying with his head too. I think obviously with Jose, it was predominantly in the middle. Then when Nuno is out on the right, I think he just needs to decide where he wants to play and then stick at it. Because I think for him, it's a bit like the Dyer situation. I know Dyer's done well this season, but where he's changed position, I don't think he's confident in either at the moment. So like Matt says, maybe get him out on loan. I think he has the potential to be good because we've seen amazing flashes like Liverpool and like you said, City. He can do it. It's just that confidence again. And we've got a lot of players in this side that are about confidence. You've got Sessegnon as well that won't take on his man. And he's starting to do that, but he needs game time pretty much all the time to be able to build on that confidence. So a loan deal, I think, would be perfect for him.
Yeah. Agree with that, James, or any other views?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's as good as Rodon, right? But then I would say that. Yeah, needs a loan. I think both of them need a loan, really. Like it's hard to develop if you don't have game time, right? It's the same with like anything. So give him a loan, see how he does. To Championship, see how he does in a season. You know, worst case, we acknowledge he's not good enough, and we maybe sell him to the club he went on loan to, and we get 5-10 million, like we did for Carter Vickers. Best case, he comes back and he can be a squad player. I mean, there's no real downside to loaning him out because I don't think Conte trusts him. So, I mean, he brought Rodon on before he brought him on, I think, recently. Well, not recently, but yeah. So, yeah, he just needs to go out on loan.
And Rodon's having a run of matches with Wales, isn't he? So he played again tonight, he played Sunday. And yeah, I think I agree. I think he's probably unless he goes off on loan. There were talk, weren't there, last week about him going to Forest. And I know I spoke on the earlier show in the week, is that it's tricky one for Rodon because he had a few minutes for Spurs towards the end of the season. Now he's had a run of fixtures with Wales. is Rodon going to want to stay? Is he going to want to move on? And then how does that affect Tanganga? And people are saying here he is quite injury prone. I do agree, like you said with Cesc, I think he's a confidence player and he needs to run the games to build that confidence. But if we bring other people in, he's not going to be someone that's going to get enough minutes. And I think a loan, maybe a championship loan, maybe to Norwich or somebody like that.
It's like James said, isn't it? I mean, he's not even Rodon can't get a kick for us, and I think Rodon's in front of him. So he's got to get some football, or else you're never going to know how good he is.
Yeah. Okay. So Spence, what do you think about Spence? It seems to what I read, it flips from him definitely coming and to he's got loads of interest and he's not coming, then he decides he does want to come. What do you think about Spence, Holly?
I mean, obviously what he done with the Championship, getting Nottingham Forest obviously promoted, is decent at 21. He's got that real desire and hunger, and obviously where he is young, Conte can really obviously push him on, and I think Conte has said that he really wants him. So that gives me hope. Whatever Conte wants, I'm down. But I think in terms of obviously the speculation about him coming or not, I think Ali Gold said about obviously he's got the under 21s or something at the moment, and they won't be back till mid-June or something. So I think that's why it's very much up in the air at the moment. So I don't know. It really depends whether Conte gets on the phone to him and says, "Oh, mate, come over," because I think that will be a very big pull. But no, I'm excited about it. I think that is a position we obviously all do need to improve. And to get a player like Spence, I'm down for it. He's hungry. It'd just be whether that step from the Championship to the Premier League at Tottenham will be okay for him. It is a massive step, but you've got to see what happens, really, haven't you?
Yeah, Matt, what do you think about that? About Spence?
Yeah, I've only seen the games that have been on telly, and he looked decent on that. He's been all right in a few. He's been really good in some. I don't think it doesn't. I think he could probably go back to Forest or another club and play a lot of football. So I'm not sure he'd want to come to Spurs. I think they've reported that he wouldn't want to come to Spurs and sort of, I think he'd want to play straight away. And I'd replace Doherty and Emerson if you could, and I'd be happy to take Spence and someone else. I mean, if you Spence on the right, Sessegnon on the left could be like a big part of Tottenham's future if you can get them both firing. So I think it would be a decent signing. Like I said, I haven't seen a lot of him. I've seen some decent games and lots of people rate him. And if Conte wants him and he's going to, and he thinks he's coming and he's ready to play, then why not? And I don't think it's a ridiculous amount of money they're talking about. I don't think you're looking at 15 to 20 million, something like that. So you could probably get that for Emerson. But I mean, Emerson takes a lot of stick. When he came in the last few games when we really needed him, when we were pushing for fourth, he didn't do too bad, did he? So, and like I said, I'm not keen on Doherty or Emerson. So if Spence is the man who can come in and Conte thinks he's better than those two, whatever, we'll wait and see.
Yeah, and Shropshire Spurs put here as well that the fact that Dortmund are in for him does say a lot. And I know we mentioned that on one of the shows earlier in the week, is that the fact that there is interest in him is a good thing. Do we think he's got the right temperament for Spurs? I know some of the pictures that he shared were possibly tongue-in-cheek and were meant to shock. It certainly kept him kind of in the news, didn't it? But like Holly said earlier about Dele, Conte's worked quite hard, hasn't he, to kind of change the atmosphere in the dressing room. Hopefully. Well,
didn't Warnock basically say to him, you can be like non-league or you can be Champions League or Premier League or something? So Warnock was proven right, really. I think Warnock said he needed to get out and, he needed to prove himself or he needed to sort himself out. And it looks like he did that. So that's one positive, isn't it? That he was set that challenge and he's gone out, albeit in the same league. He's fell out with the manager and he's gone and performed really well for Forest. So that's good. I mean, sat there with a cigar, just been promoted, hasn't he? So,
I'll let him have that one.
Yeah, and then after that, I think I saw pictures of him crying on the pitch at Wembley about how important it was. But then, he is young, and I think, like we've kind of alluded to, the progress that Davis has made this season, like you said there, Royal. Sanchez did well when he came in those few games. Really the goals that we conceded towards the end of the season were flukes. I can remember the deflection at Anfield and, the goal at Leicester that they shouldn't have conceded and things like that. And really, Conte can work with these players. And if like Holly says, if he wants these players, then that's what we should go to. But I think Paul Muir said something earlier in the week. I read that we have to be careful that we don't just kind of Conte wants them and we just sort of blindly say that's fine. We've got to make sure, haven't we, that these are the players that are going to suit the Premier League as well, and are going to be.
I've always said backing Conte isn't splashing a load of money on him. Backing him is buying the players he wants, and if that's like Jed Spence, that's backing him. It doesn't have to be like splashing 150 million on 2 players, and we bought 2 big signings in, and that's backing him. Now, backing him is getting what he wants. Like at Inter Milan, he had Ashley Young come in, I think, on a free. He had a Kolarov, I think, and players like that, because he wanted those players in his squad. That's backing him. So if it is Jed Spence that he wants to bring in, then let's do that. But you are right. We can't just... We've got to sort of look a little bit long-term. And obviously, if Spence fits the bill for long-term at Tottenham and what Conte wants now, then no-brainer, really, isn't it?
I also think as well, obviously, if Spence's temperament is a bit AWOL, I don't think it is. I think it was just celebration and putting his finger up at Warnock, basically. But I think it kind of shows that Conte's going to work them hard from pre-season. So if there is any kind of look at me on the big I am, he's going to run it out of him straight away.
Yeah, it won't last long, that, will it?
Right. I think if we do sign him, obviously this is all ifs and buts, but if we do sign him and things don't work out, he's young enough for us to be able to loan him out. He could go out on loan, couldn't he? When we buy sort of more experienced older players, they've got to slot straight in. And if they haven't, then that's kind of where things need to move on. One thing I read this afternoon is that Lucas Moura was saying that he feels it's very likely that he will stay. He says, I've had a conversation with the club and they are interested in me staying. What are our thoughts on Moura, the legend that he is? Matt?
Brilliant in the Champions League semi-final. I'm not a massive Moura fan. Don't get me wrong. He gives his all, but his second touch is a tackle, isn't it, or a block? And I just think if Bergwijn's a better player for me, all day long. He's got years on Moura as well, but I didn't think we'd sell Moura, but he's just not as good as the minute Kulusevski started playing. You could see the difference in quality, what he gives to the team. Moura sort of like has these little moments of brilliance, but a lot of the time it ends up with him falling over the ball or him running it out or a shit cross or something like that. I'm just not a massive fan. And I used to have this argument with people and they'd be like, oh yeah, but he gives 100%. But if we're looking at challenging for major honours, we've got to have more than just he gives 100%. And I know that's not what everyone wants to hear, but that's just my opinion on him. Yeah. I'd rather sell him and keep Bergwijn.
Yeah, he will always be a legend. He will always have, it's like Bergwijn. Bergwijn will always have Leicester, and Moura will always have the Champions League. He will, won't he? James, what are your thoughts?
Always have that.
What do you think about Moura?
Yeah, probably not good enough, is he? Actually, I'm going to be controversial and argue that Bergwijn's goals against Leicester had more of an impact than Moura's goals against Ajax. Because we lost to Liverpool because of that decision that we do not talk about. And those 3 points got to Champions League this season, which possibly has led to us rejuvenating our squad and being the best team in the world under Antonio Conte.
I think it was a sliding doors moment that night. Was the sliding doors moment, and I think that was where things sort of fueled, didn't they? And that kind of impetus and that momentum. And while we're talking about Bergwijn, he said, hasn't he? There's been a lot come out this week, hasn't there, from Van Gaal, isn't it, saying that he plays for Holland and he scores for Holland and he doesn't play for Tottenham, and I've seen lots of people saying that they feel that Bergwijn is a better player than Moura. The goal that Bergwijn scored last week from outside the box, that kind of curler, that isn't the type of goal he scores for Spurs. The goals he scores for Spurs are where he takes the man on and it's a bit of skill. And, I thought it was a very un-Bergwijn kind of goal. I didn't even know really that he had that in his locker. What do you think about Bergwijn, Holly? And what what should we sort of, if he wants to move on again, like Celso, make money from him and go?
I think so. Sadly, I don't think it's worked out for him. I know we spoke about Kulusevski, I know we spoke about Lucas Moura, but I just think in terms of Lucas Moura, going back slightly, I'm the controversial one and say that I love Lucas Moura. I think not just for the Champions League, and we can talk about effort because he does give 100%, but he just gives something else off the bench. When you need to break down the side, or you just need him to literally run at someone to give the opposite team something to think about, I think he's perfect for. And I know we talk about obviously that we need a squad and we need a squad depth. I'd keep him for squad depth because I don't think he's going to go for very much money. So we might as well just keep him to add something different to the mix kind of thing. But in terms of Bergwijn, I think he has been not let down by Tottenham. I just don't think the timing's been right for him. He comes on, he does something amazing, and then next week he's not played again. And I don't know why. I think it's because we've obviously got Kulusevski, or we've got Sonny, or we've got Lucas that's doing quite well. Conte wants to add Lucas into the mix rather than Bergwijn. I just don't think it's worked for him. And if he wants to go, and I think we've kind of spoken about it before, if a player doesn't want to be at Tottenham or they don't feel they're worthy at Tottenham, and I think that's kind of what he's feeling at the moment, let him go. I mean, you don't want to hold a player back. We did it with Eriksen. We held him back, didn't let him go off. With Bergwijn, he wants to leave, let him go.
Yeah, I must admit, I agree with that. I think, I remember that post that he put of the dusty car saying something along the lines, if you don't use it, it spoils, or something along that lines. And he's clearly not happy. And, Conte's no fool. We've talked numerous players that have improved under Conte, and Bergwijn is still not getting matches. And I can remember when Kulusevski was ill and Moura played, it was the Leicester game, I think, wasn't it? And, he didn't play Bergwijn, and he's not getting the minutes, and there must be a reason for that. And I think I agree. If it's time he wants, if he's still, was I reading somewhere this week that I can't remember which, it was a Premier League team that was coming in for him.
I think that was Everton.
Was it Everton? I remember reading it. I can't remember who it was. But if he wants to go to Ajax, and that's what he wants to do. The one thing, as we know, the home kit has launched this week. And I was having a conversation with somebody on Twitter about what squad numbers people would have. And interestingly, Bergwijn plays number 23. Eriksen is number 23. So is there a possibility there that he moves on to Ajax? And then, where Eriksen starts, he comes back to Spurs. James, what do we think about the whole Eriksen thing? Is that something that's going to happen? I know he said he told Brentford he'd give him 2 weeks, didn't he, to sort of make a decision?
I mean, I haven't seen any rumours that he's coming to Spurs. It would make sense, right? Like, from every conceivable sense. Played under manager trusts him, been at the club before, obviously quite likes the club, gets on with everyone at the club. Is the kind of player we need to, we've never replaced Eriksen, so replacing Eriksen with Eriksen would be quite a good thing to do. If it happens, then that's great. He'd be perfect for a season or two, and he's been doing it in the Premier League, right? But I haven't seen any rumours about it. So
I think because he said that he'd spoken to Brentford and he said he was going to give him 2 weeks, I think people have just sort of allowed that to be the time. Matt, what are your thoughts on Eriksen sort of returning?
Well, he instantly improves our squad, doesn't he? So no matter what you think about getting old players in or whatever, if Eriksen comes on a free, he instantly improves that squad. Gives you another option and an attacking option as well. And I think he can probably do a job against teams who were sat back if you just played him, say, with Højbjerg as well. So he can play a number of positions. And I just think he improves the squad. He's quality, isn't he? I mean, you've seen him for Brentford and for Denmark since he's been back. He's still got that quality. And it looks like, obviously, when we played Brentford, his corners seemed to, beat the first man. He was banging them to the back stick, wasn't he? So, winner. He comes back and he's better at corners than he used to be as well. So, yeah, I think it'd be a decent signing for a year or two, and I think you can rely upon him as well. You know what you're getting, Premiership ready, quality.
Yeah, Holly, agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. It's just like Cameron's just said. Would I prefer him off the bench just because obviously it adds that extra kind of thing? Can we break them down? Let's chuck on Eriksen. I don't know if he'd start because obviously the players we have at the moment in terms of Son, Kane, you're going to in the formation, you're going to have to drop one of them or potentially move them about. And I think it's going to be very what's the word? Not confusing but hard to do so. So it just depends whether he's in Conte's vision, if that makes sense. I wouldn't say no if we got him back. It'd just be deciding on when and where, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I've said before, we're a different Tottenham now. If he left on bad terms, or things have changed, his focus has changed, things are different. But yeah, I think it involves a kind of formation change, doesn't it? And the difficulty he's got is that Brentford have given him this fantastic opportunity. They've done so well with him. No one would begrudge him staying at Brentford and continuing that kind of appreciation that they showed him. But there is that Premier League and that Champions League pull. But it's whether he wants to go from that to not necessarily starting every game. Yes, we'll play more matches than Brentford will, but will he start them? And it's a really tricky one. I think, I kind of think about it a lot, and you just go from this to that, and it's really, really tricky. And Kerry's put in the chat, I noticed the interview, because Højbjerg this week has had a blinder. I think he's had man of the match in both matches this week. And he was asked about it, and he said that he could see Eriksen coming to Spurs. But he also sort of said something like, but he doesn't know if Eriksen can see himself coming, or words to that effect. Now, that may be a translation thing, but it sounded like he has talked to him about it, but he didn't get an overriding sense that Eriksen is saying yes, and it's a formality. So I think it's something we just need to kind of keep our fingers crossed. I think, it would be such...
Sorry. I agree with you that obviously Brentford have given him a fantastic opportunity. I'm not convinced he will come back. Don't get me wrong, I would take it. But on the other hand, we say about him getting games. When we used to play in like the Europa Conference League or whatever, you had sort of like dead games where we were giving players games, but we don't have that in the Champions League. We're not going to have that in the Premier League. I'd like to think we can try and win a League Cup or an FA Cup this year. I don't think Conte will want to just be giving trophies up. So we're going to, I think if he came, he'd get plenty of games. I think any player that comes into Tottenham in the next season, in this transfer window, will get plenty of games. So we want to be fighting on all four fronts, really. Conte is here to win. He's not just going to throw things away. So like when we're playing, say, White or I'll give Scarlett a game or give Devine a game or whatever against them teams we were playing in the Conference League. We're not going to have that now, are we? So we're going to want to be playing Eriksen and people like that. And I think he'll probably end up getting 25, 30 games if he's not a regular starter. So, and playing at that level, Eriksen would probably rather be doing that. Well, he may want to be doing that at a higher level rather than doing it at Brentford. But like I said, I'm not convinced. I'd like him to come back, but I'm not convinced it will happen.
No, and I think I read something yesterday about how apparently Man United are the other team that are in for him, which is just laughable because obviously they're not in the Champions League, and he said he wants Champions League, but he's not going to move his young family up there. He's not a player that's in it for the money. It's not going to be that kind of transfer. So yeah, we just we wait and see, and hopefully with the Nations League matches sort of finishing next week, things will sort of start to sort of slot into place. There's a lot of lovely comments coming up about us doing this show, and I'd just like to say thank you very much for everyone saying that. There is a huge amount of people behind this that help get this into this position. But yeah, I have to say, Matt, you're having a blinder as a debut tonight, so you're definitely coming back. And
thank you.
Brilliant. One other bit of fantastic news kind of launched today was that Skipp apparently is going to be back for pre-season, which is like, yay, it's like an extra signing. James, what do you think about Skipp being back?
Yeah, he's better than Højbjerg, right? And he can definitely kick on and improve. I mean, multiple top-class managers, well, Jose maybe not, but managers who do know a good player have said he's, they reckon he can be a well-beater, right? He's better at progressive passing than Højbjerg, I think. He's definitely better defensively. He's got a bit of championship grit about him, if you know what I mean, with those slide tackles. It's brilliant. Like, we need to keep him fit, sort of thing. And it does allow us to, rotate between him and Højbjerg. It's good. Being able to rotate your squad reduces injuries because players aren't suffering from quite as much fatigue, and it gives you options. It's nice to be able to, okay, Højbjerg's having a bad couple games, we'll give Skipp a run. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's nice to be able to do that, whereas currently our option is, Harry Winks, let's give him a game. Yeah, let's not do that. All right. That's why the lineup was basically the same for the past 10 games of the season, right? Because there were no other options. So it's brilliant. It's great.
Matt, do you agree with that with regards to Skipp?
Yeah, brilliant news. Skipp's a great player. Old head on his shoulders, hasn't he? It was like he's been playing for ages in the Premier League. Probably a bit like some with the Moura. I quite like Højbjerg. I'm not sure if he is better than Højbjerg at the minute. I think Højbjerg is a decent player, and I think he's improved a bit under Conte. I mean, he's not perfect. I know he's not perfect, but he's a good player. But yeah, Skipp. I think Skipp's going to be a fantastic player. Hopefully, he'll be at our club for a long time. There's talk about him being a future captain, which I can see that happening one day. So yeah, full pre-season under Conte. I mean, he didn't play for him that much in the end, did he? Because he got injured. When did he get injured? Around Christmas time, just before Christmas, was it?
I think so.
Feels a long time ago.
Yeah. So I don't think he had a lot of matches under Conte. So I think it'll be like everyone, a good pre-season under Conte, and he'll get him playing. Like I said, loads of matches for these players to play next season. So yeah, get him in there. Great player, great future for the club, hopefully.
Yeah. Holly, agree with that? That's good.
Yeah, I think so. Like these guys already said, he's a true testament. He's definitely a lot older than what he seems. But that's great. It shows that he's matured. And like Matt kind of says, we haven't really seen him under Conte that much. So it'd be nice for him to kick on. Obviously, the rumours coming out that he will start pre-season, so be able to get that under his belt before the season starts. I think it'll be a real case to meddle with, and definitely an upgrade, sadly, from Harry Winks.
Yeah, and he signed his contract, didn't he? I remember seeing joking rumours around. They were like, "Where is he? No one's seen him," And then I think he was sort of in a dugout for some games, and people were saying, "Yep, okay, he's around." And then he signed a long-term contract, didn't he? So that I think, I see him as a future captain as well. And I think, like we just said, if someone else can continue to improve, there aren't many rumours around in terms of midfielders that we are purchasing or in the looking to purchase. But again, I think, like I said earlier, it might be that they're doing position by position, and we haven't got to that. Strikers, for example, it's that age-old question, isn't it? Are people going to come to Spurs to be a striker? And but we can maybe leave that for another day. It's just it's still really hopeful. The transfer window hasn't even opened, and we're able to kind of think about all these different possibilities, and hopefully things do get done, and that's what happened. Interestingly, we haven't really spent much money yet. I was seeing something today. They were saying there's 150 million that's supposed to have appeared. We haven't actually needed any of it yet, and even if we get Spence, that's only 15 million. But
it's burning
what do we think?
A hole in the fans' pocket, isn't it? The 150 million.
Well, this is what I was just about to say. What do we think about the new home kit? Because a lot of people were saying yesterday they had to buy the home kit because we've got to fund Bastoni, and then what do we think about the home kit, James? What are your views on it?
Well, it's certainly a home kit, isn't it? Yeah, I think it looks nice. I don't know. Maybe it sounds strange because I'm younger, but I never really pay too much attention to new kits anymore. The last kit new kit I saw and thought, oh, that's a good looking kit was the the kit we wore against Ajax in Amsterdam. That kit. When I saw that, I was like, oh, I want that. But yeah, that one.
The paint drip one, the one with the paint drip that kind of falls down. Yeah.
That's the last kit I've seriously looked at. And thought, oh, yeah, I want one of those. But I don't know. There's not a lot you can do, is there? Because it's a white shirt with a badge. So
yeah.
Matt, what do you think? Is it something you're going to be partaking in? £115, I think, isn't it, for the elite version?
Yeah, I won't be partaking in it for £115. No, it's a white Tottenham shirt, isn't it? Like James said. I mean, I'm not a young man, so I like a white home shirt, a navy blue away shirt, and the third shirt yellow or light blue. I think that's the way it should. That's the way we should go. So, but yeah, I mean, I think I've seen some mock-ups of the second kit, which looks awful, like a purple and black thing, and
like a wetsuit. A lot of people think it looks like a wetsuit because it's got this kind of really fitted kind of affair, hasn't it?
Yeah, like one of them things you put on your kids so they don't get sunburned and they can still jump in and out the pool. But yeah, I mean, I like it. It's plain white, which is, my wife says I'm boring. You just like plain white and blue stuff, and she's right. I do. Yeah, so I quite like it.
Holly, what do you think?
I mean, will I be adding it to the shirt rail? Probably. When I've got a few more pennies. The only thing is for me, it's the weird collar. Last year's collar was like a little bit like triangular, whereas this year it's like a proper like curvy rolling neck, and I don't really like that. It suffocates you, but I'm going to buy it regardless. But it's 75 quid is a lot of guinea, and as we all know, or if you don't know, I was a big Enik out person. But with 150 million, I had to put my poster away with a giant egg on his face. But with that being said, you can't really downgrade the fact that it's £115 or 75, because I think that's done by Nike. I don't think that's got anything to do with the club, which is annoying. But to answer your question, yeah, I'll probably end up buying it.
I think a lot of people are saying, you know, it's like you just talked about a few kits there. I know when the Lightning kit launched, it launched on my birthday last year, and we were away in Dorset, and I was going, Jack, look, I think we were playing a friendly, weren't we? And they were at home and they were wearing it. And I was like, Jack, look, watch. And it looked awful. But then as soon as you started seeing people wearing it, you think, actually, it's okay. And then, you know, a few people have said that for this, that it didn't look great when we saw all these kind of mock-ups of it. And then when you see it when they launched the videos and you see them wearing it, you know, Dyer, for example, Romero, you know, there were some very nice photographs of them in the new kit. And
is the Lightning kit the black one?
Yeah.
They look good on the players, not on slightly chubby 40-year-old men. So that's why I don't.
But I do think that once you see them wearing it, you start to think, actually, it's not that bad. And I know, you know, it's not ideal that the price has gone up. You know, we pay highest prices tickets, and now the kits are the same. And I do agree with James, though. There's not much you can do with a white kit. And, you know, I saw someone saying the other day, none of us are going to get knocked over at night when we're wearing our Spurs kits, because we'll have the luminous yellow bit and a bit around the neck. And the red, and obviously it's always about the red, but the red there's nothing that can be done about the red, because it is the sponsor, which is why I think people do like the away kits and the third kits, because you tend to not have the white AIA, do you? So I know that's another thing. The rumoured third kit is a sort of kind of wet blue, kind of white painty kind of affair. And I know a lot of people think that looks really nice. But one thing that has I've noticed today is the goalie kits. So with Forster signing today, they've sort of reissued photos of him in the goalie kit, and so many people are saying the yellow, the block yellow, why couldn't that have just been the away kit? Because, you know, the yellow away kits are nice. And I'm with Matt. I think those kind of the blue, the dark blue or the purple and the yellow, you know, and in days gone, the kind of light sky blue, they are the colours. And yeah, there's just some crazy designs. But, you know, we do, and like we say with the Moura kit, I really didn't like the Moura green kit. I just thought it was odd. I think it's because it was the same season as the paint kind of blurry sort of spread thing. But they became an iconic kit because it was the Champions League kit. And now, you know, people are desperate to get hold of that green kit. So hopefully the kit that seems to be so divisive with the collar and the yellow will be the kit that we finally have some recent, I'm not going to say some trophies, some recent trophies in, and then it becomes iconic, doesn't it? And that will be the retro kit of the future, hopefully. We can all cross our fingers for that. But yeah, so we kind of get sucked in, don't we? Right, we have got 66 people who are watching. If you can hit the likes, that would be fantastic for us, and hit the subscribe button. I think we're done there. Unless there's anything else anybody wants to kind of bring up and talk about. We've got more shows this week. We've got shows on Friday. We've got the pods that are out. We've got, I think, Seb's show on Sunday, and then we'll be back on Monday. But James, thank you very much for being with us and for doing all the clicking and all the tech and all the photos and everything for us.
Thank you for having me on. Lovely as ever. Lovely to have a nice chat with you fine people, and have a nice evening, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Holly. And where can people find you, Holly, if they want to kind of interact with you more?
Once again, thank you for having me on. It's nice to meet you guys. And Becky, you've done a wonderless, that's a new word. You can tell it's getting late now. A wonderful job tonight hosting. But yeah, you can literally just find me at my name, Holly Agnew. I say it every time. I thought I'd stick my name because it'd be easy, but then I remembered I've got an awful surname. But if you go over to my YouTube, after you've watched this, liked and subscribed to these guys, that'd be amazing.
And Matt, debut tonight. You've done a fantastic job. It seems like you've done it. It looks like you've done it more than you have, but you haven't. You're like me. You're very new to this, but you have done fantastic. Thank you for coming along, and I'm sure we will have you back.
No, thanks very much for having me, and I'd love to come back on. Love talking Spurs.
Fantastic, right? So thanks for watching, everybody, and we will all see you soon. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Is that it? We off?
It says we're still live.